Today we're here to talk about how to use a Biltmore stick. So a Biltmore stick is a great forestry tool. It's a really easy way to measure diameter breast height, DBH, which is one of the fields we asked you to fill out on your observation report. You can also use a Biltmore stick, or really any stick of the correct length, to get a good idea of the height of a tree. But first we're going to talk about using it to measure DBH. So here we have a pin oak. This is a pretty nice round tree. Sometimes you'll get trees that are very unusually shaped. If you want to be real specific about that, you can maybe take measurements in a few different areas and do an average. But for a tree like this, we can pretty much just use it the typical way it's intended and get a good reading. So we begin by lining up the left end of the stick with the left side of the tree. Then we shut one eye and, looking straight on, move over to the right, and you'll see the right side of the tree will line up either along a number or right between some numbers. So this one is right between the gaps for 28 and 30, for 28 and 32. So we can go ahead and assume that this is about a 31-inch DBH tree. And again, if we really want to be super specific, we can come and take another reading. And on most trees, you're going to get some slightly different readings. So again, we line up the left side, we look over to the right. On this side, we're falling just between 30 and 32 inches, so again, 31. So we can just call this a 31-inch DBH tree, mark that on our observation report, and we're good. So using a Biltmore stick to measure height, very different thing. And again, you can use any stick that's the proper size. What you want to do, place the tip of the stick right below your eye like this, and hold the other end in your hand with your arm about level to the ground. So if the stick's a little bit longer, you're going to have a little sticking out. If it's a little shorter, you're going to have to find a longer stick. So that's the right length. Now I'm going to extend the stick so that my arm is parallel to the ground, and this is perpendicular to my arm. And then I'm going to walk towards a tree, again using one eye, and I'm going to reach the point where the stick and the tree are the same height in my vision. And at that point, I know that the distance from my eye to the base of that tree is equal to the height of the tree. So if I walk this off, or maybe if I use a measuring tape to get a more accurate number, then I'm going to have a really good idea of how tall that tree is. This works best when you're on level ground. The less level the ground, the less accurate it's going to be. And another thing about measuring DBH, if you don't have access to a Biltmore stick, you can just use a regular measuring tape. You're just going to measure the circumference of the tree and divide that by 3.14, and that's going to give you the diameter. Just remember to do it about 4.5 feet off the ground to get diameter breast height. All right, so now I'm just going to walk this distance off. And I know my pace, lucky for me, is almost exactly 3 feet. That was 31 paces, so that's going to put this tree just at 93 feet. Now, if you don't have a stick, slightly more accurate but a little more difficult way to measure the diameter breast height of a tree is to use a tape measure. You're just going to have to wrap the tape measure around the tree, again, about 4.5 feet off the ground. You're going to take that measurement, which is the circumference, and divide it by 3.14 to get the diameter.